Lab Addicts Music Group. Lab Addicts Music Group. Lab Addicts Music Group. Lab Addicts Music Group. Lab Addicts Music Group.
Here we go again. Here we go again. Before we go any further, we got to give thanks to the Most High for allowing us to be here on another Tuesday to basically respect our loved ones, respect our ancestors, and so forth. Now that we've done that, I forgot to cut the mic on again. I'm gonna have to, watch myself when I put this microphone on mute. But I've been hearing about IBRAHIM Traoré for about the last 6 months. And I would read little things about him, but I didn't really put too much credence to it. But over the weekend, I saw some press clippings where I saw that Putin and Kim Jong-un basically are sending troops to Burkina Faso to protect IBRAHIM Traoré. So when I read these things, I wanted to do a deep dive into who he was, why America and France are so, I'm going to say afraid, but basically looking up the prospects of him being an ally of Putin and Kim Jong-un. So before we go any further, I'm going to give a little background on IBRAHIM Traoré. IBRAHIM Traoré was born in Curabundakui in the Moham province of Burkina Faso. Went to elementary school, graduated from high school. Basically, he went to he went to a high school in the second largest city in Burkina Faso, where he was known for being very quiet and very smart. After graduating from high school, he went to the University of Ouagadougou, where he became a part of the Association for Muslim Students, as well as the Marxist National Association of Students of Burkina Faso. During his time at the University of Ouagadougou, he became somewhat of a class president, where basically he was the person who defended students' rights to the school administration during his time there. He graduated from the University of Ouagadougou with honors, and upon graduating from college, he joined the army of Burkina Faso in 2009. He was born on, I should have said this in the first, but he was born on March 14th, 1988. While he was in the army of Burkina Faso, he graduated from Georges Namano Military Academy. After graduating from the military academy, which I guess was like boot camp, he was sent to Morocco for anti-aircraft training, where once he completed anti-aircraft training, he was transferred to Kaya, a town in northern Burkina Faso. During his time there, he was promoted to lieutenant, and he joined a United Nations peacekeeping force involved in the Mali War. 2018, after being promoted to lieutenant, he was cited by the soldiers that he led for showing courage during major rebel attacks in the Tombouctou region. Once he did his time in the Tombouctou region, he returned to Burkina Faso, where he assisted in operations against the escalating jihadist insurgency. 2020, he was promoted to lieutenant. And you may ask why I'm going over this background of who he is and what he did while he was in the military. It's because basically Ibrahim Traore assumed the presidency of Burkina Faso through a coup d'etat. Basically, he overthrew the interim president that was in power. So that's why I'm doing this background on his upbringing and his time at the military academy, as well as his time in the military and the groups that he joined while he was in college. After being promoted to captain in 2020, Traore became disillusioned with his country's leadership as he saw the widespread lack of equipment for Burkinabe soldiers, while politicians were handing out suitcases of money for bribery. He gradually became the spokesman for soldiers stationed in the north who were frustrated over their government. Traore was part of a group of army officers that supported the January 2022 Burkina Faso coup d'etat and brought the Patriotic Movement for Safeguard and Restoration military, Junto, to power. Whether he was ever associated with the Cobra Special Forces, a counter-terrorist unit founded in 2019, is disputed. But according to BBC Al Jazeera and De Tageszutung, he was part of the unit at some point. However, news magazine June Afrique stated that he was never associated with the Cobras. Many supporters of the January coup became dissatisfied with the performance of Paul Henry Sadougou Damiba, the Junto's leader, because of his inability to contain the jihadist insurgents. At the time of the coup, Traore still held the rank of captain. But once the coup was over and they had won power, Traore was chosen as the new head of the Patriotic Movement for the Safeguard and Restoration. And on October 6th of, I'm guessing this is 2023, it doesn't really say, he was chosen, he assumed the position of interim president as head of state, supreme head of the armed forces. He initially promised to hold democratic elections in July 2024, but that did not happen and he basically stayed in power. Since he has been in power, he has basically cut off all relations that they had with France, and he has tried to basically put Burkina Faso in a state of independence. Burkina Faso's main export product is gold. And up until late 2024, they sent all of their gold to France for processing, and basically were charged for the processing of their gold, which was then returned to them for a fee for the process. So Ibrahim Traore, one of the first things that he was able to accomplish as the president of Burkina Faso was to build a gold infrastructure where now they have gold processing centers in Burkina Faso where they don't have to send their gold to France for processing fees. Now they are basically mining and processing all of Burkina Faso's gold right there in Burkina Faso. He has also not accepted any loans from the World Bank, as he has also tried to disassociate himself from any types of loans or any outside help. He is basically saying that Burkina Faso does not need any help from the West or anyone that is trying to loan Burkina Faso money where their natural resources will be used as the collateral. On top of that, he has also had some choice words for President Macron, who was the president of France. And before we go any further about that, I have a video of the president of France keeping the people out of exactly YWG. What's going on, YWG? Shouts out to everybody that's watching on Instagram. Shouts out to everybody that's watching on TikTok, Rumble, and right here on YouTube. Shouts out to the MA family. Oh yeah, shouts out to everybody watching on freaktv.com. Shouts out to my people watching in Nigeria and my people watching in South Korea. So basically, he has made Burkina Faso independent from any Western help, any loans, anything from the World Bank. He says that Burkina Faso can survive on its own from the natural resources of the country now that it has been taken over by his regime. President Putin came out and backed IBRAHIM Traoré and Burkina Faso publicly, stating that if anything happened to IBRAHIM Traoré or any countries tried to attack them, they would strike. As well, like I said earlier, they have sent troops to Burkina Faso to help protect IBRAHIM Traoré. As well, North Korea has also, they sent 700 paramilitary troops to Burkina Faso to also help protect him. Because basically they are saying that France and the United States are conspiring to assassinate IBRAHIM Traoré. But hold on, I got a video. So I haven't seen anything like this in a long time. Where is that video that I had pulled up? I'll get back to that. But basically, there's a video circulating of President Macron's wife mugging him in the face on live TV in France. Hold on for 1 second. I'm gonna pull it up. But IBRAHIM Traoré has basically thumbed his nose at anyone trying to provide them any assistance. And President Trump has been he hasn't really named IBRAHIM Traoré by name, but he's been lashing out at everyone that's associated themselves with IBRAHIM Traoré. While this commercial plays on this video, and those are just the beginnings of the things that IBRAHIM Traoré has been able to accomplish while he has been the head of state in Burkina Faso. I'm also going to talk about the alliances that he has been able to create with other nations in Africa. And I think that is what really is putting a little bit of fear into the West. But before we get to that, now this right here this is embarrassing on a lot of levels because, for one, you're the president. For two, what you do for your wife to bush you?
This short video of President Macron and his wife Brigitte pushing his face as they land in Vietnam is going viral and has caught the attention of Russian trolls. Later, Macron appears to offer his arm, but France's First Lady opts to initially denied anything unusual had happened, calling it a moment of togetherness.
He said it was playful. Did that look on his face show playful? I didn't see playful. That was a straight mug in the keep the devil out at all costs. Keep the devil out at all costs. Yeah. So we're going to continue. In November 2022, Burkina Faso's Council of Ministers approved the construction of the country's first gold refinery. This marked a significant development in Burkina Faso's gold sector, aiming to capitalize on the nation's growing gold mining industry. Traoré sought to gain more control over its gold resources by refining gold domestically rather than exporting unrefined materials. This would increase government revenue and economic benefits from the gold sector. The refinery is set to create 100 new jobs and 5,000 new indirect jobs, with the refinery producing roughly 400 kilograms of gold daily. In February 2024, Traoré ordered the suspension of the issuance of export permits for small-scale private gold production, a move reportedly aimed at tackling illicit trade, which consisted of smuggling gold abroad, avoiding taxes and regulations, and cleaning up the artisanal gold sector. As far as his relationships with France and how they switched to Russia, in February of 2023, Traore's government expelled French forces from Burkina Faso, assisting in fighting the local insurgency. He subsequently declared that his nation wanted to look at other horizons because we want win-win partnerships. This supported the diversification of Burkina Faso's international partnerships. Shortly after, Traore's government expressed support for a federation with Mali, and both invited Guinea. All three countries are under military leadership, and if they were to become a union, would be the largest country ruled by militia junta to replace French military support. Traore forged closer ties with Turkey and Russia. He also had a summit with Russia in 2023, where he gave full support to Russia and communicated that a decision had been made to reopen the Russian embassy in Burkina Faso, which was closed in 1992. From there, Traore formed an alliance of Sahel states, which was the federation between Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. It originated as a mutual defense pact created on September 16, 2023, following the 2023 Nigerian crisis, in which West African political bloc, ECOWAS, threatened to intervene militarily to restore civilian rule after a coup in Niger that year. The Confederation's stated goal is to pool resources to build energy and communications infrastructure, establish a common market, implement a monetary union under proposed currency, take the world government completely out of the mix, allow free movement of persons, enable industrialization, and invest in agricultural, mines, and the energy sector, with the end goal of federalizing into a single sovereign state. So they're looking to Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso are looking to basically become one nation, pool their resources together. The Confederation is against neo-colonialism and has demonstrated this with acts such as downgrading the status of the French language and renaming of colonial street names. It is also anti-French and anti-ECOWAS, as it disagrees with many of their policies. If these three countries come together, the economic outlook is positive. Niger is becoming the third fastest growing economy in the world and the fastest growing economy in Africa as of 2024. As they are among the least developed countries in the world, Ibrahim Traore has basically began building houses and communities that will house 50,000 Burkina Faso natives. So basically, he is taking all of the money that is being made in Burkina Faso and he's putting everything back into infrastructure, as well as not taking any loans from the World Bank and the IMF, as well as excommunicating France, opening the Russian embassy in Burkina Faso, which had been closed since 1992, forming alliances with African nations. And I have other videos where basically there are other countries that are also coming into that alliance. So the question I asked tonight before we had this discussion was, will Ibrahim Traore unite Africa? And from the early outlook of it, he is. And I think that that is one of the major reasons that there's a $15 million bounty on Ibrahim Traore's head. That's why these other countries are pulling their resources, Russia and North Korea, who are not allies of the West, have basically thrown their support behind him because they do not want him assassinated. Why is the West so wanting to be involved in the day-to-day activities of these African nations? Is it because they still think these people have not been colonized? Or they still need colonial rule to rule the affairs of their country? Like they cannot do it on their own? Why is that? And why is there a belief that France and America are out to assassinate? He's had 4 assassinations. There have been 4 assassination attempts on his life in the last 2 years. What's going on, Juggernaut? The West, America, France, and England, because they are basically the countries that have most of the colonial rule in Africa or in China. Hey, Dark Star. They are trying to kill this man. The U.S. general came out and basically said said some ill things about Ibrahim Traore, and I'm going to play you all what Ibrahim Traore said in response to the U.S. general coming out and saying something about him. I have to find that video. You think they're going to try to Gaddafi him? I mean, you know, the Gaddafi was the last. He was the last leader to try to introduce. he was the last leader to try to introduce a currency in Africa that was not associated with the IMF or the world government. So that may be his why they believe that a $15 million bounty has been put on IBRAHIM Traore's head. And that is why these other nations are coming to the aid of IBRAHIM Traore to basically keep this man alive. And why the nations that at odds with Burkina Faso and IBRAHIM Traore. So who needs to be watched? So first I'm going to play the general and what he had to say. And then I'm going to go to IBRAHIM Traore's response. As well, IBRAHIM Traore has had lots of things to say to the melanated people of America. As well, he put out a plea to Kendrick Lamar, and we'll get into that as well. But here's what the U.S. General said that IBRAHIM Traore was doing with Burkina Faso's gold.
Absolutely, Chairman. I see this, and I don't mind calling them out, but Captain Tory and Burkina Faso, as they know that both, whether it's their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime. There's a number of examples across. Even in Sudan, what's going on with the rapid support forces and Burhan of the Sudan forces, when you get down to it, is all about the revenue that can be drawn out of that. And there are nefarious actors in the CCP and sometimes Russia are complicit in those activities.
Okay, well, you can't imagine how frustrating it seems to me that this mineral-rich continent has not been able to move.
Absolutely, Chairman.
Has not been able to what? So that was what basically the U.S. General was saying, that Burkina Faso was not fit to govern the natural resources of their country, and they needed somebody to come in and show them how to do it. And this was IBRAHIM Traore's response. And it's deep, y'all. It's deep. Should Ibrahim Traore be protected at all costs, you all? Let me know in the comments. Should this man be protected at all costs? Listen to what he had to say in response to the general.
D'abord, il a parlé de l'or du Burkina qui sert à ce que nous on utilise pour se protéger et tout. D'abord, c'est l'or du Burkina, c'est pas son or. Ça, c'est la première des choses. En quoi ça le regarde? Ça le regarde. D'abord, il parle.
Hold on, you all. I thought I had the English-speaking version, but it was not. So we're going to find. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. My bad, y'all, on the French version. My bad. I thought I had the right version, but yeah, stuff happens. Here we go.
Anyway, we are free to establish relations with whomever we want. That's independence. So on this point, they can continue to think what they want. We will go where we want, provided that this partnership can be mutually beneficial for each party. Regarding his remarks, as you said, we protested through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's one thing. But I don't know what happened with this general. There is a concern, and I hope perhaps that he makes his best mea culpa. If he was sent, then he should understand that it's not the right mission. If he was misled, he should say it publicly, or if he was wrong before the Senate. Or if it's bad intention, well, we will confront him as necessary, because everything he said is a lie. And it's very vile to see an adult lie. Anyway, we are free to establish relations with whomever we want. That's independence. So on this point, they can continue to think what they want. We will go where we want, provided that this partnership can be mutually beneficial for each party. Regarding his remarks, as you said, we protested through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's one thing. But I don't know what happened with this general. There is a concern, and I hope perhaps that he makes his best mea culpa. If he was sent, then he should understand that it's not the right mission. If he was misled, he should say it publicly, or if he was wrong before the Senate.
There's another one that's longer, and basically he said that it hurt him that the person that was out there saying the things about Burkina Faso was a black man. He said that out of all of that, that was what hurt him the most, was that it was a black man that was paraded out there to say things that he said were false about Burkina Faso. Woo! Will the West be able to stop what this man has started? And basically, they say he is a target of the West. I got another video that I'm going to show basically detailing why they believe that he has a $15 million bounty on his head, which they say is something that the West is perpetrating. Shouts out to the voice of Ibrahim Traore for this video.
This handshake, this smile is probably rare in global politics. At the age of 37, this muscular man is doing things that the people of the Black continent have dreamed of for hundreds of years, with an appearance that at first glance seems to be typical of the African military dictators that we often see in Hollywood movies. On his body is a military outfit with a red cap, always holding a military pistol on his side, not to mention the towering figure of a guardian. I guess not many people will believe that Ibrahim Traore is an excellent student with a passionate patriotism and, above all, a spirit of determination to end imperialism worldwide. So why has such a person become the new target of the West? Let's find out with the voice of Ibrahim Traore in today's video. Burkina Faso is a continental country located in the harsh sub-Saharan region. For a long time, the Burkina Faso people have shared the same fate as many other African countries. They had to wear the shackles of the white people for hundreds of years through dozens of generations. The people here are too familiar with the suffering, and many have forgotten what freedom really means. That is why, although it gained independence from the French in 1960, in reality, this country has never really had true freedom. In Burkina Faso before 2022, the French army was still stationed with the mission that the mother country used to call MIMU, is to secure independence and help the government fight against rebel groups. A culture that is even older than their culture when they came to the land of NN. After all, Burkina Faso still uses the FR currency as a protectorate along with 8 other countries that were once French colonies, such as Mali. That is, although it bears the name of independence, true freedom is not in the hands of the people of this sub-Saharan country. Around the neck of this country is still the invisible chain of France.
And that's why they went into that coalition, that alliance between Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. Because like he said, even though they had their independence, France still had their foot on their neck.
Which, when needed, can be pulled up and down according to its will. Until today, Burkina Faso is still among the poorest countries in the world. You have to understand that the GDP of a country with nearly 25 million people is about 20 times less than the personal assets of Mr. Elon M. Yes, this country is 20 times poorer than our nation-destroying billionaire. That shows how great the gap between rich and poor is in the world we live in. But the question here is, if Burkina Faso is so poor, why is France still holding on? Isn't the country tired enough? And if they have to send troops to support them, then why should they manage the money? At first glance, politicians from the Twin Cities of Light seem to care deeply about the suffering of their poor people 6,000 kilometers away. It is touching to hear. That is also what
That's what colonialism does to a country. Tries to make them feel like you can't live without our hand. And basically, Ibrahim Traore is saying, we don't need nothing from y'all. We poor as it is. We can't do nothing but go up. And it seems like since Ibrahim Traore has taken over the assets of the country and created a gold production center, the outlook is bright. Now, the question is, like they said, he's an enemy of the West because of his wanting to be independent. Wanting to be independent and wanting to have a currency that's based on gold. Not a currency, a fiat currency, which is basically du jour right now. Fiat currency. It's not backed by anything. Whereas money that's backed by gold has a value associated with it that's not fiat. Is the West scared of Africa being independent? What is it about Africa being independent? Is it because they still want to control those natural resources? What is it? They were given their independence in 1966, so to say. Why would France still need to have? Do African nations still need to be policed by the countries that provided, that were powered by colonial rule? I think it's safe to say that no. We've got an African young man in Africa. They've tried to kill him. Basically, he has created free energy that powers cars. He's basically figured out a way to take the electricity out of the ether to power things without plugging them up. They invited him to come to America and he almost died in America. They tried to kill him. Because basically he is using he's using Tesla's experiments as his way of providing for the people of his nation. And because he has figured out a way to create free energy, they tried to murder that young man. Y'all can look it up. I'm not sure what his name is. But yeah, if you look up African student creates free energy, it'll come up and it'll tell you about how they've tried to kill that young man like 3 times. He's in hiding right now. He's fearful for his life because they want his patents. They want his patents so they can suppress the excellence that he has come up with. Juggernaut TV said, if you know Confucius, then Jugfucius says, Jugfucius, you can only pour so many glasses of wine from a bottle. Yeah, this octopus Chardonnay is the bomb. If you like Chardonnays, you might want to go check out Octopus Chardonnay. It's real smooth. It's got I don't know, I think it's pear. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't have that bite that's associated with lots of Chardonnay. So if you like Chardonnay, you might want to go get you a bottle of Octopus Chardonnay. Yeah, that's the shameless plug. But yeah, it's a nice sponsor. Is Octopus Chardonnay. But everyone is not deserving. YWG said the general is not black. He's a raccoon. Darkstar said he's also bringing large-scale farming and manufacturing to his country. I'm going to put the link out. Hopefully a couple of people will come up here and join me in discussing IBRAHIM Traoore and how it is essential that we keep this man safe. And, you know, a lot of people may disagree with that because Russia's backing him and North Korea is backing him. But regardless of the politics and whatever behind that, this is a black man that he needs to be protected. And if there's somebody that disagrees with that, I would love for you to come up here and tell us why you disagree with that. I'm going to put the link out. Hey, Queen Kima's in the house tonight. She said this sounds like what they did to Binkos Biako, the revolutionary who founded Palenque in Colombia. I will have to look him up. I've never heard of Binkos Bioko, but I will do some research on him. But yeah, I'm gonna put the link out because we gotta discuss. We gotta discuss why it's essential Traore is kept alive. IBRAHIM Traoré has also issued a call to melanated people in America to move to Burkina Faso to help with the infrastructure of his African nation. He's also implored Kendrick Lamar to join him in his fight against colonialism. Should everything be done to keep this man alive? Why? I mean, why would is it the political factor? Is it the political factor, or is it the money factor? Is it the fact that, or is it the fact that he's taking control of the natural resources and booted the colonialists out? Or is it just all those reasons wrapped into one why they want to kill this man? I put the poll out, 5 votes. Will IBRAHIM Traoré unite Africa? We got 80% said yes, and we got 1 person said no. That person said no. I wish to come up here. Because there are other, South Africa has also said that they want to join. I'm gonna go through. I have a lot of videos pulled up, and I'm not gonna play all these videos, but yeah, I do have a video where they paraded a French spy in front of TV, and I also got a video of white people's reactions to IBRAHIM Traoré. I'm gonna play that too. But and I'm not gonna play. I'm not gonna. Yeah, there's a video that I pulled up, and basically it talks about the 50,000 homes that basically he's building, and he's going to give them to the people of Burkina Faso. Darkstar said the West doesn't control the resources. That's why they want him gone. They want that gold. They want to control that gold. But he's also, Toyota was selling cars in Burkina Faso. He has basically he's flooding Africa with Burkina Faso's EV cars. So basically they are trying to take the West out of Africa. He is the new bad guy. Louis Farrakhan has came out and said, he basically gave a warning to white America about IBRAHIM Traoré. I may play that video in a little bit. The lithium mines as well, yeah. They basically want control of all of the natural resources. Why are Russia and North Korea? What is in it? What is in it for Russia and North Korea to back Burkina Faso? What's in it for them? Or is it just something to spite America? Why is Russia and North Korea protecting IBRAHIM Traoré? Why do you all believe is it an ulterior motive, or do they genuinely agree with what Ibrahim Traore is attempting to do in Burkina Faso? What's the benefit of Russia and North Korea backing Ibrahim Traore? What is it? Put the link out there. Nobody has nothing to say about Ibrahim Traore. Do we need to do whatever we can to do? Other nations need to do whatever they can to protect Ibrahim Traore. Okay, Queen Kima, what does North Korea? Okay, what? Oh, I mean, it can't. What I'm saying is, why would Korea? What are they benefiting? That's the question I'm asking. Is what is the benefit of North Korea and Russia supporting Burkina Faso as well? The West has already set up blockades so that supplies cannot go between Russia and Burkina Faso. I'm not sure if they can stop the transport of supplies from North Korea, but there have already been political blockades put up to keep goods from Russia from getting to Burkina Faso. And what do you all think brought about the change in Ibrahim Traore? Because at one time he was a UN peacekeeper fighter. So if he was fighting for the UN, he had some agreement with the West. But it says that he became disillusioned with his government. So where did even the disillusion with his government, where did the disillusionment with the West come in? Because for all intents and purposes, it seems that when he was a UN peacekeeper, the troops generally liked him. We got Dark Star joining the panel. What brought about the change in his relationship with the West? Because he was a peacekeeper for the UN, and if he was fighting as a UN peacekeeper, he was an ally. He was fighting with the allies of the West. Dark Star, what's going on? What is Dark Star's input into Ibrahim Traore tonight?
First of all, can you hear me?
I got you.
Okay. Ibrahim Traore is a threat to the West, period. We know this. Why? Because he controls large deposits of gold and lithium, as does a lot of countries in Western Africa. That's why he's got Mali and Niger coming in with him to say, let's have a central currency where we can trade amongst ourselves. Okay? Let's get technology from the West and be able to develop things on our own without being controlled by the West. But unfortunately, you have the CCP, you've got Russia, you've got North Korea, and what are they a part of? They are a part of the BRICS nation. They want Africa and different countries in Africa to be a part of the BRICS nations only because of their mineral deposits. What does North Korea gain out of this? They gain weapons technology from places like Russia and China to be able to defend themselves against America.
Well, China hasn't really came out and backed Burkina Faso because if you know
they don't have to.
Africans are trying to expel all the Chinese out of Africa.
China is very, very low key, just like they did in the United States. In the United States, they had what was called the Confucius Institutes on almost every single university campus in America. The premise behind that was to enrich and to enlighten people to the Chinese culture, when in reality, it was to spread communist propaganda. They had over 3,000 of these Confucius Institutes in the United States until the government started getting wind of how they were not, people on college campuses were not allowed to speak poorly about the Chinese, about what the Communist Party was actually doing in their country, how they were torturing the Uyghurs in their country. So the government in the US got behind it and said, no, 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 no. If the colleges and universities continue to want to have funding from the federal government, they have to get rid of the Confucius Institutes on college campuses. So it went from 3,000 down to about maybe 250 that are left in the United States. China is completely cool with being on the sidelines, taking a step back. They're doing the exact same thing in Africa.
I wouldn't even say that they're on the sidelines, because as we know, they basically had a weapon. They had a bio weapons lab in San Francisco that they were operating. We've heard of numerous Chinese police offices around the nation that basically police the Chinese immigrants who are here in the nation, basically making sure that even though they are in America, that they still have their nationalistic beliefs of China, knowing that you're basically bringing them in and saying, your allegiance is still to China. So I wouldn't say they were on live. They work in the shadows.
No, they are working in the shadows, because one of the things that the Chinese were doing, they were buying up property next to military bases in the United States.
Yeah, and just watching.
Why? Watching to see what Americans do, how they respond, how they train. States are starting to understand, whoa, 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 wait a minute, we can't allow that to happen. For instance, the state of Texas has put a law into place that the Chinese, India, and other foreign countries cannot buy property within the United States, within the state of Texas. So now you're starting to have other states that are saying, hey, maybe Texas knows something that we don't. Florida started doing the exact same thing.
Understood. And I mean, and I'm not saying anything, but I am a people watcher. My undergraduate degree is in applied social research, and basically the last 2 years of my matriculation in undergrad, I had all people watching basically projects. So the way I look at the public and the way I look at stuff is completely different than how the average person is looking at things. So I look at everything with a discerning eye. And I can tell you that without a doubt that I'm allegedly I drive Lyft sometimes. And a lot of times when I'm driving Lyft, I drive 3:30 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen groups of other people just riding around the city, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, big packs of like 10 or 11 people just riding around the city. Now, I can't say that maybe they're just out exercising and riding bikes. But I look at places where people are and where they stop and the stuff that they look at. And I can tell you without a fact that there are people that are in America that, they're not here under good pretenses. Now, can I say that all these people are riding around doing that? No, but I can say that some of them are around watching, taking pictures. About 4 months ago, there was a weird fire in Cincinnati. And although the fire was on the ground and the bridge is about 120 to 130 feet above the ground, there was a fire that was on the ground that basically burned the bridge allegedly, so much that basically they had to cut a big section of the bridge out and repair it. Now, they blamed it on some homeless people starting a garbage fire, but a garbage fire 120 feet below the bridge is not going to create enough heat where it burns and melts joints and stuff to a bridge, to the point where this bridge the bridge was closed for about 3 months while they had to make the parts to repair the bridge. Now, I'm a what's the word I'm looking for? I'm a conspiracy theorist just in how I look at the world. So when I see stuff like that, I know that everybody in America ain't for America.
And that's completely so. Once again, to go back about the steel and burning of the steel, it doesn't really take that much to be able to start to melt steel. I used to be a blacksmith. I blacksmithed for about 2 years. I also got into welding and stuff of that nature because, well, I'm a unicorn and, well, I like to do funky stuff.
You would have to see where the fire was and how high the bridge is up to understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is
it doesn't.
There's no building that would have put flames 100 and some feet in the air.
It doesn't take that much. It really doesn't, especially if you have it concentrated in a particular area. And for somebody to start a fire and then to sit back and see and look and see, okay, how hot is that going to burn? You can do that with regular kerosene, if not gasoline. And if you manage to get a hold of something called avgas, or what is called aviation fuel, which is easy to get, okay, concentrating it around a pillar will start to deteriorate that steel that's inside those pillars. Doesn't take much.
What I'm saying, it wasn't the pillar. It was the actual joints and mechanisms to the bridge that was 120 feet in the air. And these buildings, I mean, that's some hell of a flames, though. I mean, if they was, that's what I'm saying. I just look at stuff. Yeah, I don't believe that some bums created a fire with enough power and enough heat to melt some steel on a bridge. I'm just saying.
And that's what I'm trying to explain. It doesn't take that much. Everybody thinks that, you need all of this heat, but when you concentrate heat, see, I'm actually a safety coach.
I'm talking about the area in between the fire and the bridge. So that's what I'm saying. I think it was something. Yeah, what you're saying, I understand, and I think, but what I'm saying is, I don't believe the story that they put out there, because I'm out driving sometimes. Like I said, I see some weird,
Do you know what thermite is?
People don't just ride bikes in groups of 10 at 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the morning. Or maybe I'm not privy to these things. Maybe it is bike groups that ride at 3:30 and 4 o'clock.
Do you know what thermite is?
Oh yeah. But what I'm saying is, if people had some thermite, it wasn't no bums.
We're not talking bombs.
No, bums.
Thermite is
BUMS. I'm not talking bombs. I'm saying,
bums.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying, didn't no bums get their hands on no thermite?
That's what I'm saying. These people will go around and they will camouflage themselves. They will sit there and they will do these little test runs. And then they will sit back and they will watch to see how long it takes. What's the response time? What's the reaction of the surrounding communities? Whether it gets put into the media. That's what's called OSINT.
Yeah, they're locked up. They're locked up right now. No, they're locked up, no bail right now.
OSINT is open source intelligence.
Yeah,
the military uses it. The military uses it all the time.
Yep.
So, but these people are doing the exact same thing. One of the jobs that I used to have, I was actually the bioterrorism coordinator for Dr. Pepper. Mm-hmm. I had to deal with traceability of food. There was a dairy in New York State that provided a majority of the milk to downstate in Manhattan to the public schools, and it got mysteriously contaminated. It would have killed thousands of children in the New York City public schools if that milk had have gotten to them. But somehow it got tipped off. But these people who are terrorists sat back and watched. What was going to be local response? What was going to be the news response? Guess what? You never heard about it in the news. But mysteriously, 3 years later, not even 3 years later, the FDA regulations changed about how people, companies, and organizations need to trace ingredients that go into food. That was done on the down low. It was done on the low key because they didn't want to panic the public. And the things that are happening
I
right now,
understand
the
what
things
you're
that are
saying,
going,
but sometimes you got to be real with the public. Sometimes you
yeah,
got
but
to,
they won't.
yeah,
They
yeah.
won't.
That's what I'm saying is, I know that explanation that they give for that bridge, that a whole section of that bridge, the excuse or the it didn't make sense. I mean,
Okay.
anybody that is logical is looking at that like that don't make sense.
Okay. Let's go back into, I want to say, the mid 1990s. There's a bridge that goes from Fairfield, Connecticut to Norwalk, Connecticut. Okay. There was a tanker truck that had an accident on that bridge. That tanker truck burned. It burned a hole into the bridge where they had to shut down the entire highway because cars were literally falling off the bridge into the Sound.
You talking about a tanker truck? I'm talking about a garbage fire. It's two different things.
Exactly.
We're getting off the subject. We're getting off the subject, but I feel what you're saying. But a tanker truck and a garbage fire is two different things. I understand what you're saying, but yeah, we talking about IBRAHIM TRAORE tonight. Go ahead. What you got to say about IBRAHIM TRAORE?
But that's what I'm saying. The only thing that I'm saying about that is it doesn't take as much as we think that it does. It really doesn't. Now, if you want to get back to IBRAHIM Traore, why is the West going after him? Is because they can't control him. Any more than they wanted to control Gaddafi, what did they do? They got rid of him. I have a lot of respect for Captain Traore because of the fact that he's really taking a focused look at how to improve his country. Okay?
He is improving his country.
YWC said, YWG says America needs to keep in focus on making Americans' life better instead of sticking our nose in other countries' business. And he's completely correct. We should be taking a page from this young man. How to rebuild America. But our government...
America's most definitely not going to take a page from an African black man in a country that has a gross GNP of 3.9%.
Personally, like I said,
no matter how good he does, the West is not good. His the GNP is 3.9%.
No, like you said, the only way that they're going to go is up because they're already poor.
Yeah. Like they said,
and so
Elon Musk can buy that. Elon Musk has more money than their GNP.
And that's true.
That's crazy.
But like I said,
has more money than the gross national profit of a nation. There's something wrong with that.
There is something wrong with that. But still, at the same
especially
time,
when you have a country like France that is imposing their power on them, like why are we like I 100% understand IBRAHIM TRAORE because he's basically saying y'all are ruling us, y'all got control of all our natural resources, and we're still one of the poor. We got all types of gold reserves, lithium reserves, and we are one of the poorest nations in the country. Let us rule ourselves. We can do better. And I don't have no problems with him throwing the French out. I
I
don't have no problem with him doing it, because if we're gonna do bad, we might as well do bad, govern ourselves.
exactly. That was something my mother always said. I can do bad by myself. I don't need you. And unless your name is Oxygen, I don't need you.
So
And my point be,
go ahead.
I praise him for the fact that here is a young man who is trying to build up his country. I really do, because that's what we as Black people need to see. That it is possible.
Do Black people need to leave and go and help build the infrastructure of Burkina Faso? Should Burkina Faso be a destination for melanated people in America?
I don't really know, to be perfectly honest, because
he's put an invitation out for people that can come over there, basically no visa process, and basically come over there and be able to get citizenship in Burkina Faso to help them build their infrastructure. That was his call. That's his call to Black people in America.
but see,
Go
but this
to
is
Burkina Faso and help build an infrastructure.
This is what my concern would be. He puts out this call to, American Blacks to come to his country to help rebuild the country, to build the infrastructure. Is he going to be any different as a leader toward Americans, Black Americans coming toward his country, than we being indentured servants in our own? What do we gain out of going there? Are we going to gain wealth? Are we going to gain land? Are we going to gain property? Are we going to gain anything more than what we can gain here in America?
I'm going to put the question out to the chat. Black people going to Burkina Faso, what is the pro to Black people moving to Burkina Faso and helping with their infrastructure? And while we're talking about it, what are the cons?
Exactly. We need to, you need to put up a whiteboard. What are the pros on one side, cons on the other, of Americans, Black Americans going to Burkina Faso to be able to help that country? Are they going to do to us, use us, and then let us go?
I don't think
any
it would
more
be.
than
The thing about it is, if you as an American go over there, decide to go over there, I'm thinking that you're going to do some research, and you're going to make sure that you're financially able, or you're going to have a job, or whatever it is they want you to come over there and be involved in the infrastructure. I would hope that that the people that go over there are going to do their research to see what the pay is, and is it something where I can go over there and have somewhat of the same standard of living that I have here in America?
but we don't have
in helping to build an infrastructure.
But at the same time, we're Americans used to the American way of life. Okay, we would not have the same rights, we would not have the same culture in Burkina Faso that we have here in America. And
What rights do we
really
have in America?
What rights would we have in Burkina
Yeah,
Faso?
inalienable rights, but I mean, some people will look at it like maybe it'll be a step up going to the motherland.
Yeah, but in certain parts of Burkina Faso, they still have Sharia law.
Yeah, I mean,
okay?
he was a member of the Muslim Association for Students of Burkina Faso, so.
I mean, I live in Irving, Texas. 15 years, about 10 years ago, we had a battle in city council about having groups of Muslims that were developing different areas within my city, and they wanted to instill, Sharia law. The mayor said no.
They were a sovereign nation inside America.
Basically, and the mayor said no. You have to follow U.S. law.
They're going through that in Detroit right now.
They're going through it right now in Plano, Texas. There's a 400-acre spread that they wanted to build an entire Muslim community. The governor went in and put a stop to it, and I got a problem with it. You didn't worry about it 15 years ago when our mayor was fighting with it in Irving, but now all of a sudden you got a problem with it in Plano. Why? We've got enclaves of people here that follow Sharia law. The men basically will look down upon you or bully you if your head is not covered. And I live in an Indian community. I know what it's like as a black woman living in an Indian community. Will us kafir do not belong? And I'm like, I don't care what you think, because I'm going to go where I want and do what I want.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but you're looking at it from a Western point of view.
True.
So I mean, I feel what you're saying, but you're looking at it from a Western point of view, and they're looking at it from a standpoint of they've been living under the Old Testament. They never stopped.
But can Americans?
They never stopped living under the Old Testament.
Yeah, but can Americans really live under that? Will they thoroughly accept that? And is it going to be to their...
I don't think Americans will move to the point. I mean, but there are. I mean, what I'm saying is there are people in America that move to Bahrain, that move to the UAE, that move to, and those countries are governed under, may not be Sharia law, but they're governed under different laws than here in the U.S. And the people that move to those areas, the UAE, Bahrain, Dubai, they change. They change. When women from America go over to those countries to visit, they dress as the women over their dress.
And that's the adaptation that you need to recognize when you go there. So is that going to be to your advantage, or you're willing to do that in order to rebuild or build some other country's infrastructure?
And there are some people that say that, yeah.
I had a friend of mine that was a contractor when I was getting my safety certification. He got a contracting job to go to Saudi Arabia as a safety engineer, safety coordinator, and his brother was making hand over fist when it came to money. But he couldn't bring his wife because his wife would not live under that strict law that they had in Saudi Arabia.
And that's a choice that people make. It's a choice, and I understand that. It's a choice.
You know, and especially as a woman,
you move to the UAE, or you move to Bahrain, or you move to Saudi Arabia, or you move to and you're not going. I mean, it's about respect. It's about going someplace and respecting how they live and adjusting to it. It's not like it's not about like people here in America.
It's about a simulation.
People here in America, they go to Mexico and they have a thinking that everybody speaks English. No. If you go someplace and it's not America, you gotta adjust. There are some people that will adjust. There are some people that feel like I can go to Burkina Faso and be in the motherland, and if I gotta to make some changes to do this, I can make those changes.
It's about assimilation, and that's one of the problems as Americans, that, you know, when you have people that come from other countries here to America, they're not put in a position to assimilate. They really aren't. You're going to sit there and tell me that in order for me to have a job, I got to be bilingual, speaking English and Spanish in order to have a job in my field? That shouldn't be the case. Huh?
Who said that?
That's federal law. It is an OSHA regulation that says that I must teach and train people in the language that they speak. In regards to,
you live in Texas. You live in Texas, where I mean, Texas.
No. This is a federal law. This doesn't just apply to Texas. If I go back to
what I'm
Connecticut,
saying is all companies don't. I mean, I've worked for government contractors. And we didn't have to give orientation, or we didn't have to speak Spanish. And I worked in D.C. I worked in I don't know about that
you can
regulation.
look up. No, you
Now
can
what I'm
look
saying
up
is
the
I
OSHA
understand that, but it's not something
If you
that
have
is.
a if you have a majority of your workforce that all speak English, then the company is not going to say that it is required. But all it takes is one person to say, I do not understand because I speak another language. I don't care where you are in the United States.
See, I understand. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but yeah, I would say most of those is like, and I see the ads. Most of those is like warehouse jobs where you have
Not
to
necessarily.
and it can be and I'm not saying that's an absolute, but I'm just saying those are advertised where we're looking for managers that are bilingual because we have a bilingual workforce. And I would say that yeah, but I would say that most of Spanish Americans that are working white collar positions are bilingual where they know English, because I don't really see a lot of. Now if you have a Spanish workforce, yeah, but I don't. That's not something. I mean, blue collar, yeah, construction work, yeah, but are companies, Fortune 500 companies, doing? I mean, maybe in the countries where that is, but I would say that no.
No, well, that's where you're wrong. Okay. I've worked for some major Fortune 100 companies. I've worked for Johnson and Johnson. I've worked for Cadbury Schweppes, which is now Keurig
Okay.
Dr.
Well,
Pepper. I have
I said in those countries where they're operating at, but what I'm
no,
saying
no,
is,
no, 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 no. There are companies now, even that take care or that build aircraft,
okay,
helicopter engines that wants you to be bilingual in Vietnamese and English. Another job that I just recently applied for, they want you to be bilingual in Chinese and English.
what industry are these jobs
Aerospace.
in? Okay,
Lockheed Martin.
so
Lockheed
basically
Martin is less than
countries
25
that
miles.
you're saying companies that are accepting people with H-1B visas
No,
or people that are naturalized American citizens. I don't understand what we're off the subject again, but I'm gonna let you finish your point. But I don't understand what you're saying.
what I'm saying is that there are many companies in this country that hire people, and it's not just H-1B, because 70% of the H-1B visa holders in the United States are Indian.
Okay,
But there are other companies.
they speak another language. So what's the difference?
It
They
doesn't
speak
matter
Indian.
what the
They speak Indian and they speak English, but they aren't asking for accommodations for. I don't. There's no
they
correlation.
are. There is a correlation because the federal government says that no matter what the person's language is, you must train them in that language. So if you have an aerospace company like Lockheed Martin that's here in Grapevine, Texas, there's a division of their company where you have to speak Chinese and English in order to get certain
And
jobs
I said
within
that.
that company.
I said operate in those countries, or I mean, you're talking about specializations. You're talking about. You said departments where. I'm not saying. I'm saying that it's not company wide. And I understand what you're saying, but you said departments. Now, if there's a certain department and they have that, yeah, they're going to do that. But I've worked for government contractors, and I mean, maybe, but maybe it's different because being in a government contracting atmosphere, you have to be an American citizen to apply for a lot of those jobs, and they're not.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't.
I'm hiring.
Because
I don't know about people getting people now. You can get a work visa, but what I'm saying is you can H-1B and you're on the process to getting a green card. But no, they're government contractors are not. We're not giving two different sets of. We hire people that are Indian. We hire people that are Spanish, and I'm telling you, I have never had to give an orientation or have someone come in and translate an orientation because, like I said, I'm hiring positions for clear individuals where you have to be a U.S. citizen to get a job. Now, there are people in here that work other government jobs. We got people in here that work for the IRS. We got people in here that work for the Treasury Department. And I can tell you that when they went through their orientations, they will tell you that, no, we didn't have 3 or 4 different languages in our orientation. Now, I can't speak for all companies. I'm not saying that it's a definite. But yeah, I'm if I'm hiring for positions where you have to be an American citizen, no, we're not doing just we're not doing orientation in Spanish or Indian or anything like that.
Okay.
I'm just telling
in
you.
the state, I'm talking about Texas. I'm going to refer to Texas law.
Yeah, so you're talking about Texas because Texas is 50% Spanish.
No, it's not. Okay. I'm using Texas as an example.
Use Texas and California because those are both Spanish-speaking. Those are both states that cater to Spanish-speaking.
Okay, I will use California because I know something about California, Nevada, and Arizona.
We're talking. The thing about is we're talking about Ibrahim Traoré, but now we got off talking about thermite and what's going the Halliburton, and now we're talking about Spanish and English and Indian and people and companies. Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish. Then I'm gonna let you finish, and then
the only thing is, it's just like we'll get back to it. I'll make my point, and then we'll get off it.
Go ahead. You good?
In the state, Texas, California, Arizona, Illinois, and Nevada, E-Verify is not mandatory. So we do not have to do a background check on those individuals to find out if you are legal in this country, unless you are.
All the states that you're talking about have significant populations of Spanish descent people. So I can see why in those states that they would have dual orientations. But that is for those states. But I'm telling you, in Washington, D.C., and Maryland, Virginia, they're not doing 2 different types of orientations for Spanish people, for Indian people.
I lived in the state of Connecticut for over 20 years. I also lived in the state of New York. I am an OSHA certified trainer. It is a federal regulation, no matter what state that you're in. You have to train that individual in safety in the language that they speak. I worked for Amazon for 5 years as a trainer.
I can't speak for non-cleared government positions. I can't speak for those because those aren't positions that I was recruiting for. But I can tell you beyond the fact, for positions that require American citizenship, they're not doing orientations because this person is an American citizen, but they speak Spanish better than they speak English. They're not doing
Then they're breaking federal law.
Okay, Queen Kima.
Okay.
I was a communications analyst for the DHA in Virginia. We never had bilingual orientations, nor did I have to produce communications in another language. And she works for the IRS. The IRS.
Then you're breaking federal law.
I'm not. How are we breaking federal law if there have to be American citizens and the official language of America is English?
It was only until Trump became president that he made it an executive order that English is the official language of the United States. Prior to that, English was not mandated as the official language of the United States. If I am Polish and I go into your establishment and you need to train me and I don't understand English and I can still be a citizen and English
I'm
not
not
be my
hiring
first language.
Polish people. I'm not hiring Polish. I'm
Why
hiring
not?
cleared American citizens because the positions I'm recruiting for require American citizenship. And if it's American citizenship, you have to have gone, and you're from another country, you have to have gone through immigration, and there's questions that you have to answer in English on the immigration test. Now, they may have accommodations for people that speak English as a second language, but they don't make concessions just because you from Poland and you speak Polish.
Yes, they do. They have to. It is
Okay.
federal law. It is in the general duty clause of
I've never hired no Polish speaking people for a government contract.
it is federal law.
I've
I'm
never
sorry,
hired
my friend.
I've never hired a Spanish person for a government contract that required American citizenship, and they did their orientation in Spanish. I haven't.
Okay. OSHA 29 CFR 1910. You made me walk all the way over here just to get my
I ain't
OSHA
making you
federal
do
regulation.
nothing. I was talking about IBRAHIM Traoré, and then you got off into another tangent on English
Okay,
speaking.
let's
But
get
I'm
back to
ready
it.
to finish. But no, I didn't tell you. You walked yourself into that.
Okay.
Don't blame me for your
Okay.
actions.
For my actions. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you said I didn't do nothing. You walked yourself into that. I'm
Okay.
not saying I don't have the power to make you do nothing.
That's right, because you don't have that control.
Exactly.
That's okay.
Exactly. So you
But
can't tell
getting
me
back
that I
to
made you
Captain
do it. I
Troy.
don't have that power.
So let's get back to Captain
Yeah,
Troy.
let's get back to it.
Is the West trying to control him because they want to control his natural resources in this country? Yes.
I think
Are
it's
they
more.
trying to
I think it's
assassinate?
more because he doesn't want to deal with the World Bank and the IMF.
I think it's a combination. I think you're right. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think he wants independence for his country, like he said. I think he wants to see his country to prosper. And I give him credit for that. I really do. Because he wants to see his country be better than what it is. He wants to see the sons and daughters to be able to be educated. He wants to build universities in his country that where his countrymen don't have to go to France or Belgium or the United States to be educated because they have world-class education within his own country or within the African continent. Because that not only builds his country, but it builds the countries around them. That's only going to provide security. Excuse me, sir?
That's why they're building an alliance, and now they're three right there packed in together. They already have the alliance. Now they're trying to go to the countries that are surrounding them, and then they're just going to keep going, trying to go across Africa. There's already other countries. South Africa, the president of South Africa has already said that he wants to be a part of that alliance as well. So I just see that there's a turn and
it's unity.
And I think I am of the belief that IBRAHIM Traoré, he may not see it to completion, but he has started a act of independence in African for African people, and I have no problems with it. I think that
I don't either, because if he can instill that in his nation's people, it's going to go beyond him. Whether he's there or not, it's going to go beyond him where they're going to keep that flame alive to say, I want to build a company in my country that's going to help my country.
Yeah, I think it's time for the colonialists to get out of Africa. I think it's been long overdue, and I think that we're at the point now where these countries can govern themselves, and they don't need outside influences telling them what to do with their natural resources. Now, if these countries want to build, they want to build trade agreements with them, and they want to, work with them in that form of fashion where, Burkina Faso is basically, and the other countries in Africa are basically governing their own resources. I'm all for it. Build agreements with those people. Quit trying to rule them.
They should be building their own nation. They should be building trade agreements with other countries that's fair and equitable. Um, just like Trump said, we for too long, America, have not had fair and equitable trade, and we need to have reciprocity in this country when it comes to trade. I think with the African nations, it should be the exact same way. If Burkina Faso or Niger or Mali has lithium that they want to sell, they should be able to sell it on the open market at a fair price, not at a reduced price by having the French come in, mine everything, take it back to their country, refine it. And so instead of, you're only getting maybe 20 cents on the dollar and
You
they're
get the whole
making
dollar.
the full dollar.
You getting the whole dollar. So they kicked France out and said, we got our own gold refinery centers and we don't need y'all's help. We don't need no
But
loans
they
from the
need
IMF. We got enough
of
natural
gold
resources.
here to be able to pay for it.
We can trade with
We
the
got
other
enough.
nations. We can trade with the other nations in Africa and get the resources that we don't have in Burkina Faso, and we can give them the resources that they don't have in their regions, and we can work together. But that's what they're gonna do, and I'm all for it. And the people that don't want to, the countries that don't want to be a part of their alliance, hey, you get what you get. Get your just desserts.
Exactly. And it's not just the mineral resources, it's agriculture, it's textile. I think it was Nigeria that stopped allowing America to bring used clothes to be imported into their country because, it became a point of we need to start building textile industries within our country to make our own clothing, not take hand-me-downs from the West.
Yeah, understood.
And I'm 100% for it.
Yep, I'm for it too. I'm
And they
100%
should be
for it.
allowed. They should be allowed to flourish. They should be allowed to grow and stop Western countries putting their thumb down on them because they don't want to see Black people prosper. They don't want to deal with Black people on an even playing field. Because why? Western countries feel superior to Africa and they don't want to deal with them on an even playing field because if they did, they would see how superior or at least how equitable the African nations can be.
You're right. And
And we should be dealing with them on that level. I'm sorry, but America should have done a lot better job at helping African nations to flourish and be independent.
okay.
I mean, they're kicking out military bases.
I'm gonna respond to what you said, but I'm gonna let you finish your point. But I'm gonna respond to what you said in a second. Go ahead.
Well, the military bases that we've had all over Northern Africa, it was
Okay.
just nothing but suppression. That's all it was.
Yep.
We should have
Hey
been
y'all.
doing more to make them independent.
Yep. Hey y'all. We gonna thank Dark Star for coming on here tonight and adding her valued input. But with that said, I'm gonna let Dark Star go back into the chat and I'm gonna respond to what she said about Americans and their support for Africa and the nations in Northern Africa. So shout out to Dark Star. Thanks for coming out tonight. But yeah, what I got to say about America supporting North Africa is America has never supported North Africa in any way or capacity. The only thing that America has done in Northern Africa is take resources, build military bases, and impose themselves on those nations. That is what they did. That's what America has done in Africa. Take the resources at a discounted rate and saddle those African countries down with loans from the World Bank, loans that they know will never be paid, and they know they will always have control over those nations. So America never supported North Africa. They do have troops over there, but those troops are over there to make sure that those people don't kill themselves and tear up what we done over there. It ain't over there as no humanitarian mission. They not over there protecting those people from nothing. They're over there to make sure that their investment is good. That's the only reason that those American troops are in North Africa, is they're over there to make sure that that investment is seen through to the end. I am in support of IBRAHIM Traoré. He is not a communist. He is getting help from communist nations, but his nation is not communist. Now, they are a Muslim governed nation, as a lot of countries in Africa are. So that's not something that is of significance, because a lot of the countries that are in Africa are governed under. Now, it may not be Sharia law, and Sharia law is, yeah, we could talk about that, but the West has no business telling people how they should live. The West has no business telling the people how they should live. If it's a Muslim nation and they have Sharia law and that's how they've been, who are we to tell them that they're wrong? That is from a American point of view. It's countries over there that they don't put people in jail at 16 years old for life. That's inhumane. But and countries are telling America that it's inhumane. Has America stopped doing it? No. Because America's going to do what America's going to do. So how can we tell these countries what they're not going to do from a Western point of view? Now, if you choose as an American to move to a country that is governed by Muslim law, there's adjustments you have to make. But there is no way you should go over there and think that you're going to have the same lifestyle that you had here in America. You're not going to be over there wearing bikinis and wearing halter tops. No, you're going to a conservative nation. These are things that we know. I mean, yeah, you can't go to another nation and force your American values on how they live. That's the reason Americans have trouble now. That's the reason why Americans, they telling you not to travel to other countries, even with your passport. These countries will deport you because we got people that go to other countries and think that because they're American, everybody should speak English, and I don't speak your language, you should be able to understand me. And that ain't how the world works. It's not how the world works. I commend IBRAHIM Traoré for fighting for his independence. And if it's some communist countries that's going to help keep that black man alive, keep that black man alive. Because we didn't have world leaders, we've had leaders, black leaders here in America that were Americans and they were killed by Americans. So I don't want to hear none of that, because we didn't have great leaders here in America that got killed by Americans just because they wanted rights for black people. So no, I'm not going to say that they shouldn't protect that. No, protect that black man. Protect that black man. So I don't want to hear, man, that's he's the Russian. Russia's backing him, and North Korea's, they gonna send troops there to help him. Do it. Because we didn't have black leaders here in America that's been killed by Americans for nothing more than speaking up for the rights of black people. So no, I'm not gonna say take this man out of power. He's in his country. And who are we to tell anybody what they should do in their country? If enough Americans move over there, then you can annex you a part of wherever you at and say we got American law here, like they do when they come over here. Ibrahim Traore should be protected at all costs, if for nothing more, for the independence of his people in his country. Who are we to tell some people 6,000 miles away how they should govern themselves? Who are we? Who are we? Juggernaut TV said this country thinks it's the HOA of America, of the world. France, England, and America. Their hands are all over Africa. Let them people govern themselves. Let them people govern themselves. We at the 2-hour mark. This is the first time I said it, but hit the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Subscribe to my page. And share this video out. And join the conversation. As we're talking about Ibrahim Traore and his rise to world power. One of the smallest nations in Africa is leading the charge to African independence. One of the smallest countries in Africa is leading the charge to independence. And who are we to say that they shouldn't be able to govern themselves? We should be saying, kick colonialism out of Africa. If you're talking from a Pan-Africanist point of view. And that is the view that you have to look at this from a Pan-Africanist point of view. Which is a look at the totality of people of color in the world. I don't think it's anti-American to be empathetic to Ibrahim Traore. I'm still American. I love America. But I agree with Ibrahim Traore and what he's trying to do for his nation. It's 2025 and we still talking about other countries running a country from an imperialistic point of view. Captain Traore come to America, they'll kill him in a week. Dark Star said, what we need is Captain Traore, they'll kill him in a week in America. He'll be assassinated in a week if we had an out of Ibrahim Traore. What y'all say? Should Ibrahim Traore be protected at all costs? What is the reasoning to the 55% of the people that said no on the poll, what is the main reason that IBRAHIM TRAORE will not be able to unite Africa? Yeah, I'm empathetic to what Traore is trying to do. Is that bad to be empathetic? That I understand, I feel his plight? Is something wrong with that, Lord Wise? To show empathy to IBRAHIM TRAORE for what he... Is that bad? Is that bad to be empathetic towards him? Is that bad? Is it bad, Lord Wise? Is it bad for me to be empathetic to what Traore is trying to do? Is it wrong for me to have a vested interest in this man's success? You said it like it's a bad thing, Lord Wise. I need you to explain that. I'm empathetic. I would hope that you are empathetic to what he's trying to do. Empathy. Hey, I didn't know I was bad for showing empathy. What do you all think about IBRAHIM TRAORE reaching out to black people in America for support? Should black people in America support IBRAHIM TRAORE? I'm asking. Should we not support IBRAHIM TRAORE? Or, I mean, what would be the reasoning? What would be the reasoning to not support IBRAHIM TRAORE? What would be the reason not to support him as a melanated person? And he's got white people that support him too. Putin. Trump said Putin ain't bad. He's not a bad guy. He don't like him too much right now though. But while we on it, we're gonna look at what some white people think of IBRAHIM TRAORE. Shouts out to the African Streamline. They got these videos on here showing what some non-melanated people think of IBRAHIM TRAORE. What do y'all think of Albert? You know, I asked who is he, but what do you all think of IBRAHIM TRAORE? Yeah, I'm waiting on Laura Rise to tell me what. I didn't understand what she was saying, her statement. Laura Wise. So we're going to look at what some white folks are saying about IBRAHIM TRAORE. The viewpoints expressed on this show that do not come out of my mouth are not mine. They are the people who say them. With that being said, here we go, y'all. That's what white people think of IBRAHIM TRAORE. Shouts out once again to the African Hotline.
I just watched President Traore's speech. This man is so wise, it's not even funny, all right? Mr. President, you said that they want to control your resources and then your youth is forced to migrate over there to make a living. You are absolutely right. On top of it, what they do to those people that migrate here, it's shameful. They send ICE to detain them and to deport them. These days, They don't even send back to the original country, they send them to El Salvador. I am the prime example of how ruthless America has become. I married a US citizen 14 years ago, and they still detained me back in Hawaii, and they tried to deport me. Yeah, they treat like shit anybody who they think they're below them. I applaud you, Mr. President Traore, for standing up to them.
This issue of Burkina Faso and Captain Ibrahim Traore has suddenly become one of the biggest political issues in the world, trending regularly on social media. My own interview with our dear friend and guest Nico House on this very subject, literally on this exact subject, is one of our biggest, most viewed clips in all the history of the mother of all talk shows. It's in the millions. Millions of people have watched it.
IBRAHIM TRAORE, who everybody's talking about, IBRAHIM TRAORE is very much part 2 of Sankara, in my opinion. Because it's the whole premise of like, okay, we don't fucking need Europe's help. We don't need America's. We got it. We are resource rich. Fuck off. Because all of y'all's help comes with you exploiting us. All of the homeopathic, natural, spiritual healers and practitioners have come together and said, you're protected, Ibrahim. We got you covered. Why did that just give me goosebumps?
Goosebumps. I ain't never heard. Hold on.
May God bless this man.
Just provide us.
What the hell is a geese bump? I've never heard that, but yeah, I'm gonna come back after this commercial. But what the hell is a geese bump? I'm lost, y'all. Is that a whiteism? But is that a whiteism? I don't know. But we back. Commercial's over. We're gonna go back to see what white people have to think about Ibrahim Traore.
Now, this one caught my attention. This one is really caught my attention. You see, white people, I've seen white people in different occasions where they are reacting on the issues of Captain Ibrahim Traore. And some of them are really supporting Captain Ibrahim Traore, saying, Ibrahim Traore is a good person, and blah, 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 and all those things. I saw it with Shahid Bolsen. Shahid Bolsen was talking about Captain Ibrahim Traore, and he said that Captain Ibrahim Traore, what he's doing is right, and the US should leave Captain Ibrahim Traore alone. Okay? Now, I want black people to be in the picture of actually protecting and talking about and reacting on the issues and things that are happening to Captain Ibrahim Traore. And I've seen black people at large doing that. But my question is today, what do you think when white people also come in the picture of protecting Captain Ibrahim Traore or reacting on the issues of Captain Ibrahim Traore? What we have in mind most of the times, and many people, especially black people, is we don't really trust each other, and especially our friends from the West. We don't trust them. Just the other day, a woman called Claire was caught from France, from Burkina Faso. She was a spy. She came in France in the name of she's coming in France to help people and all that, to help children, to help women, and she was very smart. But at the end of the day, because the government of Burkina Faso is a government of God, she was able to be caught. Like, she was caught very easily. And after she was caught, she lacked words to speak, okay? She was a white woman from France.
I think what he's saying is, should the people of Burkina Faso accept? How do we fit? I mean, I don't think that things are relegated by color. As we see, we've seen 3 people that basically have said that they are in agreement with what Ibrahim Traore is doing. But as we know, that's a minority. Most white people are not going to be in agreement with what Ibrahim Traore is doing. And y'all, I know y'all wondering why I keep. There's a guy that plays for the University of Louisville, and his last name is Traore, and I keep on almost saying Abubakar because his name was Abubakar. So if I go up and I say Ibrahim, that's why. Yeah, I guess that I'm pretty sure that Traore is. I'm pretty sure they're related. So yeah, I apologize for that. Yeah, Ibrahim Traore. But we're gonna get back to the videos. I've jumped it back to where they're doing reactions of white people and what they think of Ibrahim Traore. Now we'll get back to it. But what do we think about white people who support Ibrahim Traore?
Response where possible.
Hey, let's talk about Burkina Faso. Oh, Faso. Shut up. Burkina Faso is roughly the size of Colorado, a little bit bigger, okay? If you were looking at Africa, look, it's around here. I know it's inverted. Okay, if Africa looks like kind of a backwards P, it's in this part. So, she used to be called Upper Volta, colonial ass name, until the 80s, when a man named Thomas Sankara became the leader of the nation. He did things that, in my opinion, Ibrahim Traore, who is now who everybody's talking about, Ibrahim Traore is very much part 2 of Sankara, in my opinion. Because it's the whole premise of like, okay, we don't fucking need Europe's help. We don't need America's. We got it. We are resource rich. Fuck off. Because all of y'all's help comes with you exploiting us. So here are some things that Thomas Sankara, he was the leader from 1983 to 1987 until his assassination, which is why Traore, may God's protection.
We're going to, yeah, she's just giving a story. We're going to go to the next video I got about, the next video I got, white people's reaction to Ibrahim Traore. Just keep on saying it. Abubakar. Shouts out to Noella Reacts. She compiled this video of the reactions of white people reacting to Ibrahim Traore. So shouts out to Noella Reacts. Go check her page out. We're going to look at her video.
All Africans.
I think they forgot to say thank you to us. It's not a big deal. It will come with time.
There is a part that caught my attention where he talked about ingratitude.
Gratitude, I am well aware, is a non-transmissible disease to humans.
He is human. Our ingratitude is not transmissible to him. This is how this gentleman sees Africa, sees Africans. We are not human. In his eyes, I think that if he is not an atheist and he prays, every morning when he wakes up and prays, he should also pray to the Africans. Because it is thanks to our ancestors that there is a France today. He should pray to us.
France occupied Burkina Faso for generations. They stole gold and uranium, billions of dollars of resources for pennies on the dollar, while the people of Burkina Faso suffered. But Burkina Faso's new revolutionary leader, Captain Ibrahim Traore, says no more. Traore has kicked out all of the French troops from his country in Africa. He has banned exports of gold to Paris, and he has dropped French as the official language of Burkina Faso. It's a total cultural, political, and economic reset. Now, obviously, French President Emmanuel Macron is kind of upset with all of this. He has made his position known. And President Traore beautifully responded. He said, if anyone is ungrateful, it is him, Emmanuel Macron. France exists today thanks to our ancestors. They should pray for us. And Burkina Faso is making it clear that this is not about some attack on France. This is about independence and sovereignty. Just last week, Burkina Faso's President Traore decided to release 4 French spies who were guilty of attempting to commit a coup against the president, Captain IBRAHIM Traoré, in 2022. The message is clear. Burkina Faso is not the pawn of France or the Dutch or the United States anymore, but forgiveness is also at the heart of their revolution. Traoré says that this is not just a split, it is a revolution with global ripples. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Apparently Trump works for French bankers now. He's threatening to arrest IBRAHIM Traoré. You ought to know who he is. He's the youngest president in the world. He's the president of Burkina Faso, and he has been wrapping up the French empire in Africa. The French are still looting Africa through the banking system, through ownership of all the natural resources in Africa, and they've been straight looting the place. And this guy's been leading the charge to not do that shit anymore. Trying to opt this guy like he was Fidel Castro. I should tell you something.
Trying to off that man like Fidel Castro? Is that what they trying to do? They trying to off that man like Fidel Castro. Dark Star said, Malcolm X said, don't trust the liberals. Man, I try to tell people that every day. We was not liberals. We were always conservative. Always. Always. Back to the reactions.
He was Fidel Castro. I should tell you something. It's probably doesn't seem to be very well known in the world media, but this is one of the most significant dudes in the world right now.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. If it's your first time,
guys in the world right now. But you know what? We're gonna skip Noel a little bit. We're gonna go to the next video.
we'll come back with more commentary.
Yes.
Here's why IBRAHIM Traoré is posing such a big problem for the West and why they want rid of him. This guy's doing what a leader should do. He's protecting African. Traoré has done since he was elected in 2023. Increased the GDP of Burkina Faso from 18.8 billion to 22.1 billion. He reduced the salaries of ministers by 30% and increased the salary of civil servants by 50%. He made Burkina Faso a debt-free country. Now think about what our government is doing to farmers in the UK, and then look at what IBRAHIM Traoré has done for farmers in his country. He bought them 400 tractors, 239 tillers, 710 motorbikes, 714 pumps, which meant the production of millet, rice, tomatoes and cotton rose by millions of tons. But the main reason why they want rid of IBRAHIM Traoré is because he's banned the colonial exploitation from France and the West, who for years have kept Africa poor and weak by exploiting the minerals. All the gold, oil, platinum, diamonds, all these precious minerals have been extracted from Africa. The African people have been paid pennies, and that's what's keeping them poor. Now he's a problem, he's a terrorist, and the West have to go in and help Burkina Faso. Just like we went in and helped Palestine, we went in and helped Syria, just like we went in and helped Libya. They destroy the infrastructure and destroy the lives of the people so they can get what they want, line their own pockets and have complete control of how the world works. And if IBRAHIM Traoré, God willing, stays alive and succeeds, this is a big problem for the New World Order moving forward. It means no one world government. It means no one world currency, because if you can't control Africa, you can't control the world. So this is why we need to pray for this man. This is why we need to keep him alive. And this is why we don't believe anything we see on the mainstream media about him being a problem, a terrorist, an extremist, someone with empathy, someone with courage, someone who's willing to die for his people for what
You're wise. Someone with empathy.
What he believes in.
Have you heard of President IBRAHIM Traoré of Burkina Faso? All right, young man, been in power 2 years now, president of Burkina Faso. He's a military guy, captain. And I don't know if you know about this, but there's been about 18 assassination attempts on his life. 18. And he came into power at a very strategic time in the history of Burkina Faso, a lot of difficulty, instability. And he's done quite a few amazing things in his 2 years, even though they've tried to assassinate him so many times. If you go and look what he is trying to do in terms of key reforms aimed at stabilizing his nation, he has built schools, hospitals, roads, developed agriculture, donating a lot of tractors and equipment for agricultural development so they can produce their own food. They have stopped exporting raw materials. They are trying to process gold themselves. Hospitals, all those kind of things. You know, there's a lot of things, even airport, right? And so there's a lot of development that's going into Burkina Faso at this moment in time. And I'm sitting and I'm looking at this whole thing. Now, I'm not saying I agree with everything he is doing, all right? I'm also not saying that everything he's doing is bad. I think any president that is building schools, working on education, all right? Any president that is bettering the health care of their people, that's trying to help their people to become more self-sustainable, less reliant on imports, etc., increase production in the country, factories, job creation, etc. I think that is a praiseworthy president. And so the interesting thing is, when it comes to Africa, and you go and look at the history of the last 20 years of Africa, and presidents that have been removed either through a military coup and or assassinated and or removed weird circumstances or committed suicide, you know. A lot of those, or let me rephrase that, some of them were corrupt, all right? All of them were not good. But there were a number of them whose heart was really to better their country. But they have something in common, and that is that they went against the global establishment, if I can put it like that. And I'm not going to define that, go into details, all right? I think
he won't define it, but I will. The World Bank. And there, we always talk about the housing crash when people lost their homes because of subprime mortgages. But nobody never talks about the subprime loans on a global level that the World Bank gives out. You never hear people talk about that, about the unheard of terms that countries are held to get that loan from the World Bank. The things that they have, the concessions that these countries have to give to get those loans. When they get those loans, basically they give the World Bank and the nations that back the World Bank control of their natural resources until the loan is paid off. So I commend IBRAHIM Traoré saying, I don't need your money. Back to my man, he's dropping dimes.
I think you know what I'm talking about. And so a lot of them just suddenly left this earth.
We're Phoenix.
We're going to get right back to this in just a second. Listening to these people that don't look like IBRAHIM Traoré, what does it make you think? These are not just Americans. This man is, I'm pretty sure he's in Britain, London, somewhere. He's English. The white people that are backing IBRAHIM Traoré, like he said, he doesn't agree with everything he does. He doesn't agree with everything he says. But any president who is for the sovereignty of his nation, he agrees with that. How can you not agree with that? That people of a country want to rule themselves. Back to my man.
So I'm looking at President IBRAHIM Traoré, and I'm not saying, again, I'm agreeing with everything he's doing, especially with some of his alliances some of the other leaders in Africa that is endorsing some of the.
Should the alliances, I'm gonna come back to this video. Should Ibrahim Traore's alliances be a determination on your support for him? Should you, like I said, should we not support Ibrahim Traore because Putin is backing him? Should we not support him because Kim Jong-un is supporting him? Should we not? Is it un-American for us to support Ibrahim Traore? I don't think so. Is it un-American to support Ibrahim Traore? Can Americans support Ibrahim Traore without being un-American? Juggernaut TV said we need to support him. Are you un-American for supporting Ibrahim Traore? Hit the like button. I got 6 likes. Hit the like button. We're talking about something serious tonight. We talk about something serious every night, but tonight is a little bit more serious than usual. What would be your reason for not supporting Ibrahim Traore? I'm asking. I'm asking the question. You're more than welcome to express your opinion. We may not agree with you, but I want to know, for the people who do not support Ibrahim Traore, what is your basis? What is your basis? What is your basis for not supporting him? Is it his alliances, like this man said? We have alliances with countries that I don't agree with. I'm asking y'all. I value the MA family's input. I value what you all have to say. I want to know how y'all feel about Ibrahim Traore after we've gone down this rabbit hole to see who he is, and now we have heard what these people think about him, as well as the things that I've talked about. How do we feel about Ibrahim Traore?
Them are questionable, all right? But it is very clear that he's got a heart for his people and for his nation. And in his aim to develop his own country, there's been roughly 18 in his life. And if you look at the trend of African leaders disappearing when they want to build their own countries and invest in their people, isn't that a bit strange to you? Isn't that bizarre, you know? Now, I know what's going on. I'm not talking from a position of ignorance, all right? The thing is just I can't discuss a lot of these things on this platform, all right, because of the fact that the video will be removed. Free speech is not always as free as you think. You know, there's a price to pay. In any case, so I'm looking at this whole situation with interest and seeing where this is going. But I'll tell you one thing. If I look at what has happened the last 2 years with Captain Ibrahim Traore, I would say if I was him, I would sleep with one eye open. And it's very hard to know who you trust in circumstances like that. And that is true for any leader, any government official, any president. Sometimes you don't know who are friends and who are your enemies. But let's keep our eye on this. Very interesting developments, and a lot is changing in Burkina Faso at this moment in time.
Alassane Ouattara, the president of Ivory Coast. Listen me very carefully. If you are going to let American use your air bases or military forces to try kill Ibrahim Traoré or destroy Burkina Faso or destroy Mali or destroy Niger, I am telling you straight, you will face us. And we will point you as Africa's enemy. This is direct warning to you.
So guys, actually, as this is so
Shouts out to Noelle Reaction. She put this together. She put this video together, and yeah, she's got some. She put together a good video. You have all these nations. You have all these countries. You have all these people who are supporting Ibrahim Traoré in his fight for the independence of Burkina Faso, one of the smallest countries in Africa, is leading the charge to get rid of colonialism in Africa. This man should be protected at all costs. This man should be protected at all costs. This man has started a movement, a revolution, and African countries are waking up. He is saying things that resonate with all the other leaders of many African nations. Will Africa finally begin to fight for their independence as a whole? And will the other nations of Africa join in this fight for independence from colonialism? This is big. I don't understand if people really understand and realize how big this is in terms of a world dynamic. Lots of African Americans, blacks in America, are moving to Africa. Lots of melanated people in America feel that they can have a better life in other countries. Other African nations are imploring Black Americans to come to Africa. Will Ibrahim Traoré light a fire under African Americans who are seeking to live abroad because they feel as though they can't get a fair shake here in America? And do you blame anyone for saying that I can probably have a better life outside of America? Do you blame those people? Or do you empathize with them? Black people need to learn from what Ibrahim Traoré is doing. Seems as if he has unsurmountable odds. He's one of the smallest. I'm going to say it again. I've been saying it all night. They said the size of Burkina Faso is the size of Connecticut. But he's leading the charge for African independence, African sovereignty. It's crazy that these people, it's 2025 and African nations are still looking for sovereignty away from the countries that colonized them in the 1700s. It looks as if Africa is not going to allow the West to bleed them dry. It looks as if the African nations are not going to allow the West to bleed them dry. The world is changing, people. The world is changing. These countries that they tell y'all are third world countries, that third world designation don't mean ish. That third world designation don't mean ish. You go to any country outside of America, you go to Cuba, you go to Puerto Rico, you go to the Dominican Republic, you go to Costa Rica, you go to Colombia, you go to Brazil, you go to Nigeria, you go to the Congo. Wherever you go, there's rich people. There's people with money, regardless of how their country is designated as a third world country. They drive BMWs. They drive Benzes. They're not working as hard as you. But they're still driving the cars that a lot of people want to drive. YWG can speak for this. He's been to African nations. You go over there, these people got drivers. They don't drive their cars. People drive them around. It's a designated as a third world country, but there's rich people. These people got drivers. They got maids. There's a lot of people in America that don't have either. But we will look down on Africa because we feel that they are behind us from a Western point of view. Dark Star said, to each his own. If Africa is for you, then go. Is what Ibrahim Traore doing, is it a call to action? Is it a call to action to black people in America? Is he setting the example? What do y'all think? Is he setting an example of how to fight for independence in 2025? What is it, y'all? What is it? Are you un-American for backing Ibrahim Traore? Can you be pro-American and support Ibrahim Traore? Or do his alliances scare you? Do the alliances that he has to win the independence of Burkina Faso, do they scare you? His alliances. Will his alliances stop you from backing him? Ibrahim Traore is here. He ain't going nowhere. And he's got countries that are backing him, that are protecting him. He might be the one that they can't touch. He might be the leader that can't be touched. Because if he gets touched, it seems like it's going to set off a firestorm. Juggernaut TV said he's setting a precedent, a blueprint. What is this blueprint for? In terms of black people in America, what does IBRAHIM Traore's blueprint say to black people in America? Juggernaut, I need you to follow up on that. What does IBRAHIM Traore's plight, his rise, his method, what does it say to black people in America? What is he saying? Oh, it's 50-50. It's 50-50. Well, there are people that believe that IBRAHIM Traore can unite Africa. I mean, he's got 2 countries that he's got about 10 countries in Africa that support him right now. They want to join his alliance. Juggernaut said the blueprint is how to govern your own ish and not legal extort your worth. The blueprint is how to govern your own ish and not let people extort your worth. There's a lot of white people that back IBRAHIM Traore too. There's a lot of white people that understand world politics and what has been going on in Africa for all these centuries. There are white people that understand the plight. Juggernaut said this is a call for black people. And Dark Star said this is a call for black people in America to wake up. Juggernaut said he's setting the precedent. He's the blueprint. We most definitely gonna keep a touch abreast of the situation that is IBRAHIM Traore. IBRAHIM Traore is lighting the fire in Africa. Will that fire that he lights in Africa be the fire that gets all people to look from a Pan-Africanist point of view? I know we always gonna have raccoons. We're always gonna have raccoons that are not for all people, black people. And we're also always gonna have white people that are for the cause. Sometimes it's kind of hard to distinguish. Because with anything, you want to give people that look like you the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes you can't. And then sometimes people that are of another race than you are, you got to let your guard down sometimes. That's kind of hard sometimes, just because based off what has happened in the past. But there are people that want to help. There are people out there that don't necessarily agree with how people of color have had to fight for everything we've had to fight for in America and all over the world. Should not say all white people are not bad and all people are not good. Yeah, you got people that look like you. They want you to fall worse than the person that's another nationality. So we know that color don't make you don't bind you. Sometimes blood don't bind you, but color does not bind you. And people of another race are empathetic to the plight that black people have. Some white people are empathetic to the stuff that we have to endure on a daily basis. I just put a post on LinkedIn the other day. We, as black men in America, we are the lowest on the totem pole in terms of college graduates at an undergraduate level, at a grad school level, and at a doctorate level. And even though we are in the last of all the degrees that people have in the United States, we are still the highest rate of unemployed in America. And that's not by coincidence. So we are big up all these people in America, and we got companies that won't even hire black people, educated black people. So ain't nobody in America gonna tell me that I can't support IBRAHIM Traoore. I can't get a fair chance in America sometimes. So you think I'm gonna not support this black man because America don't agree with what he's saying? Hell no. America ain't done right by me. I still love America. It's the best place for opportunity in terms of having a life, but I'm at the point now where I don't need the whims and the nuances of America to have a good life. I feel I can have a good life somewhere else. And a lot of people are starting to feel that way. If you can't get justice here in America, maybe you can get justice somewhere else. But I didn't really get around to the 25 things that he has planned for Burkina Faso. I may have to do a part 2 on IBRAHIM Traoore. I know at some point we will have another show on IBRAHIM Traoore because he's going to be in the news. IBRAHIM Traoore is here. And he's not going anywhere. And he's front and center, and he's taking all the smoke. We got to support this man. It's your boy Maas Appeal, and this has been a deep dive into who is IBRAHIM Traoore. I hope I said something that will make you do some more research on this man and what he's been doing and how he is trying to unite all the African nations. So I will be watching. I hope y'all enjoyed this show. Like I said, we're going to have different topics, different subjects as we embark on this season 2 of Adult Conversation with Maas. This is the place where you come to think. It's your boy Maas. I'll see y'all tomorrow night.